All right, Jonathan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having
Super
me.
excited to get into the conversation. So we met through the marketing world. We worked on a couple dope projects with each other. You've had some crazy exits from previous businesses. So just wanted to tell the folks, like, what do you do?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I let's see. I started my first company in 2016 out of college. I went to Kennesaw State, hootie hoo, go Owls, and I was never a good student, not ever, not even in high school. It's a miracle I made it to college, and halfway through my last semester, I got sick at school and I had to drop out. And when I came back, I was like, well, what do I really want to do? Like it was a unique opportunity for me because it took me, sometimes they say you got to stop being the character in your movie and sit back and watch the movie, take yourself out of a feedback loop and figure out, kind of have that introspective moment. And that was mine. And so when I came back, I realized I wanted to do something big. Like I had just been completely displaced out of a reality that I thought was my only reality. And looking back, I was like, all right, what's next? And so I started a company out of my dorm room in college, as all good startup stories start. And within 6 months, it was funded, and I dropped out to pursue that. Someone wrote a check bigger than me, or probably my parents had ever seen at one time, come in. And I said, if you're going to believe in me like that, you got all of me. And so I did that and did it with a couple fraternity brothers, built it up, raised a few $1 million. In 2018, we pivoted what we were doing. And I realized that I was not best suited to run that company. And when you get to a moment like that and you're kind of like, I want to be the next Evan Spiegel, right? The 27-year-old founder of Snapchat who was dating the Victoria's Secret model, took the company public, got a $750 million bonus for doing that. Or Mark Zuckerberg. And you think like, that's what I want to be. But then reality hits and it's like, well, do I want to be that and pursue going down with the ship out of my own beliefs to want to accomplish that? Or do I step aside and make a choice that's best for me and all the shareholders long term? And so I did, and it came with growing pains. But fast forward, that company's doing really well today, both on the public and private sector. So working with the government as well as private contracts or private companies. And I actually took a small exit from it a couple years ago. And that small exit, it wasn't the big, $1 billion exit, but it gave me the ability to focus on what I wanted to do next. And I got into the blockchain space and learned a lot about, we wanted to use NFTs for loyalty and engagement. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole on that, but I'll spare you. There's other podcasts I've done where I talked about that. But I like to say that I really learned about how to sell a product based on benefits and value propositions and not features, right? Like not tech because tech is cool, but what can the tech actually do for someone using it? And I did end up, closing that company down. So I like to say that the first one was kind of my undergrad in the business school of hard knocks. And then the other one, the failed one, was my master's degree. And as that one was kind of going down, AI was, GPT came out 2022 and I started using it for everything. Then I got into AI automation and I started automating my lead generation for that company, and it was working. I was getting more inbound, opportunities than ever before. So I started showing people it, and all of a sudden more people were interested in the automation and AI stuff that I was doing than the actual stuff I was selling with my company. So at that point, that's when I pivoted and said, I'm not going to swim upstream trying to sell something to people that people, I could have 3 meetings, and after the third meeting, they still like, what do you do? And when I'm talking about AI, I don't even get through half the first meeting before someone's like, hey, can you help me with X, Y, or Z? And so, that can only happen enough time before, as a good entrepreneur, you're like, I'm going to go where the demand is going, not where my beliefs go. Right. I don't want to be right. I want to win. Kind of mentality.
No, that's great. But I do want to rewind a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Because you said in college you got cut a check that's bigger than anything you've seen, your parents have seen. So what sparked that creativity back then to say, I want to be this entrepreneur and start a business? Like, did you have not your parents, but any family members or friends?
It's a good question. And it's something I've thought about before. I think I made a choice. So it goes back to high school. I went to Chattahoochee High School in Alpharetta, Georgia. And for the first 3 years, and in my 4th year, I knew I was going to go to college like after. And I was kind of shy in high school. So I wanted to switch up everything, right? Like, so my 4th year, I transferred to a completely new school so I could put myself in a new environment, but still be living at home with my parents, right? So it was it was a nice line between familiar and unfamiliar. And I did that. And then, Asher Roth's song, I Love College came out, like Van Wilder's college, experience. Like there was all this college stuff that gave you this vision of what that college life could be like. And as a shy kid, I was like, that's the dream. I can go and I can reinvent myself in this microcosm of a community, college. And I wanted to party and have fun. And fuck, I did that. Like I did that in spades. I was like, I had the best time in college. I made so many friends, people that were, groomsmen in my wedding. It was the time of my life. And my GPA reflects that, but also that was the come up. Like that I had a more like my come up was not an academic come up. My come up was I found who I was and got grounded in that confidence. And I think when I got sick, that was part of, I mentioned I got taken out of my movie and sat back and watched the movie. And I became introspective around that. And I was like, well, I knew I was shy in high school going into college and I wanted to be this. Check that box. I did that. Okay, so if I can do it in this microcosm kind of way, maybe I can do it in the larger ocean, right? I did it in a pond. I was big fish, small pond, at least in my head. Now, can I go out and venture into the whole world and try and do the same thing and recreate that? And so when I came back from getting sick, that was kind of like, I was in the hospital for 27 days. And so when I came back, I was just ready to go for it. So I started reading all the self-help books, Tony Robbins, all that kind of stuff. I started reading business books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Napoleon Hill, Think Rich, Grow Rich. And dude, from there, that's what it was. From there, I really figured out your mind controls your reality. And from that moment on, I had no option but to design the life I wanted to live.
Man, that's powerful. So I want to go back to the first company you started, right? That you semi-exited. And can we touch a little bit on like, what does that company do?
Yeah, so they do video streaming delivery architecture. There's a couple patents. The idea actually came, do you remember the football game? It was Auburn versus Alabama in like 2013. Let's see. Alabama kicked a field goal and missed it, and Auburn returned it the full. It was the championship game.
Was that Cam Newton?
I don't know. I think it was right after Cam Newton.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was one of the craziest plays ever. And we were at a bar, and we were like, well, what's it like in Toomer's Corner right now, or in Tuscaloosa? And there was nothing like Snapchat at the time wasn't showing you events. Like Snapchat was, you could follow people's stories, but you couldn't follow an event and look at all the user generated content submitted to that event. So we built that where you could submit pictures or videos, and our algorithm would chronologically arrange them, and you could like click through an event. Well, then Snapchat literally rolled out that feature 3 months after we went live in the App Store. And so we were like, okay, well, they just took our lunch. And so we pivoted to the idea of how could we do that, but with live stream. So the user could pick what perspective they wanted to watch an event from. Like this is 2016 too. So this is like when Conor McGregor first fought Nate Diaz, and that fight like couldn't be delivered. Streams were crashing. Even if you paid $80 for ESPN for like a high ticket stream, right before a knockout, when the height of people were watching it, the stream would crash. So our vision to give each viewer the ability to click and pick their perspective of where they viewed content from an infrastructure standpoint was not feasible or possible. And so we actually invented the way to do that. And when we did that, we said we should just go license this technology to other streaming companies instead of doing it ourselves. And that's when I stepped aside, because my vision was to have our own app where viewers could pick what perspective they watch live content from. And when that vision changed from a D2C app to a B2B streaming as a service model, that's when I stepped aside. And fortunately, that was a good decision, because the executives of that company now have really taken it to new heights.
So at this time, you're dropped out of college.
Yeah.
You're early 20s.
Living in a music studio.
Okay, living in a music studio.
Yeah.
And you're deep into technology
Deep
at this point.
But I'm not technical.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a technical person, but
Yeah.
deep in technology.
Yeah.
Who helped you? Because you said we. So obviously to get a company to that status, you had to have help.
Yeah. That's a good question. I've never been asked that before, but I think it's iterative, right? I think it's different people at different times, you know. I have my base family and friends that supported me throughout the whole way. I would have different investors, you know, that or partners that would come in at different times. But I don't think it was ever one person, you know. I think, you know, obviously, you know, I would say God and my mindset were the two most constant day-to-day things, my family and friends as well. But I think it's like, I think like it's, you know, it's God, mindset, family, friends, and then strategic people that are there at strategic times. You know, I think, cause I don't think there's one answer, and I'm going to be thinking about this question, I know, later, and I'm be like, damn, I wish I would have answered that. But I don't think there was any like one specific, you know, person. It was an amalgamation of a bunch of different people that, you know, there was reciprocal value, just like if you were building anything.
Right. Okay. So let's transition a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you had that company, completely hands off from that now.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit offline, and I know we're working on some projects together. You're all in on AI.
All in.
And a lot of people know, okay, AI, like, what is it? We're seeing driverless cars, we're seeing robots delivering our groceries, and everyone's just typing into Chat GPT. But you take it 20 steps further. So let's just dive in a little bit on AI generally and how you're implementing it into your business right now.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, you know, I think I like to start with fact, right? That's always the best way for me to understand something. So if you go to Google Trends and you type in AI, you'll see something at about right here. If you type in something like ChatGPT, it'll intersect at some points, but it'll be about up there with AI. If you type in AI automation or AI agents, it's like here. So if ChatGPT and AI is here, AI automation, AI agents is here. So what that indicates to me is everybody knows that they want AI, and the extent that they understand that is ChatGPT. And I assume, you know, a lot of people listening to this will know ChatGPT, but then when you start talking AI automation and AI agents, you start losing everyone. Like, or they don't know how, you know, they don't know what to look for. So that's what I realized is everybody knows AI. They don't really know what it is, and they don't know how to use it. That's the most important thing, is knowing how do I use it. And that's what I learned at the second company, the blockchain one that failed, is you can't just use a theoretical technology because it's cool. Like, you have to know, how does this technology help me save money, make money, save time, create time, you know, things like that. That's what the technology needs to be purposed to do. And I think that's where a lot of people are having a hard time with AI, right? Do I use ChatGPT? So I'll kind of rewind. One of the cool statistics I heard recently, I want to say it was Sam Altman, but it might have been someone else, but it was that older people use ChatGPT like Google. Millennials use ChatGPT as like a life coach, and Gen Z and below uses ChatGPT as like an operating system for everything. And I think that that's the way that it's going to go, is it's going to be your operating system for everything, AI in general, not just ChatGPT. So now, you know, fast forward back to the last point I was making about businesses and value proposition, is every business knows they want AI, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know when to measure it. They don't know where to apply it. And they don't know fundamentally or philosophically like why they should be using it. And so they need to understand, like, I feel like from my conversations, is that there's a lack in understanding around what is the ROI of using AI and where do I put it where. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, a lot of people watching this are probably trying to figure out how they can get their foot into AI.
Yeah.
So if I'm a business, right, there's I can't remember what the term is, but most of the baby boomers have, you know, those are the back of America right now.
Yeah.
And they've built these businesses that are built on traditional marketing, billboards, radio, word of
ads.
mouth, TV ads.
Yeah.
Now we've transitioned into, okay, we know we need to get on social media. We know we need to create some sort of presence online and attract our ideal customers, but we're still stuck in our traditional ways of marketing.
Yeah.
So if I'm an older business and, I have kids and they're just showing me all these cool AI things, what would you tell that business owner? Like, what is the simplest way to understand, like, should I even be using AI?
Yeah, no, it's good. That's a good question. And I think it actually starts with a question of, if you want to use AI because it's cool, just find out if you see something cool, look into it. But if you want to use it in your business, the first thing you need to figure out is, what do I want to accomplish with it, right? That's going to be the common theme is, again, I didn't just see this video online, so I'm going to figure out how to make a cool AI video to put out. But it's going to be something more like, I want to try and get impressions for this demographic, but maybe I don't have time to make content, right? Like, what is the bottleneck? What's the pain point? And that's the first thing you need to figure out, because AI is not going to replace people. It's going to replace processes, right? Like, when you think about how a company runs in the future, it's not going to be, oh, my AI replaced this copywriter, it replaced this analyst, it replaced XYZ. It's going to say, no, it took to a blank whiteboard and it recreated the whole process of what's needed. And I think that like, as a business owner, you need to understand, what are my pain points? Like, is it maybe communication, right? Like, I am the bottleneck of communication in my business. Is it a lack of synchronization of my softwares, right? I have to take my meeting notes from a call, then I have to type them into my CRM, then I have to go to Excel, then I have to send an email, right? You have all these softwares that you use, but they're all disjointed. Is it a marketing thing, right? We work with a law firm who, they don't have time to make content, right? So, I mean, would you like me to give a specific example? Would that be helpful here?
Yeah, I think before we dive into the specific examples,
Yeah,
what are like some of the common mistakes that you see people make? Because it seems like, okay, I understand that AI is going to take over the process. Right. It's not going to completely take my job unless I don't know how to implement this. So I'm trying to implement AI into my business. What is something I should look out for that I don't mess up on when trying to get into this?
So the first thing that you need to be careful of is from a compliance standpoint, right? If you're using free tier AI stuff, you want to really be careful of any kind of sensitive data that you're putting into there. So that's the most absolute first thing is, from a compliance standpoint, be very careful about what you're putting into any free tier software, but specifically AI. The second one is, if you're asking AI to give you stats or something, be careful, because AI hallucinates. And when AI hallucinates, what that means is it doesn't know the answer, so it's going to make up an answer. So sometimes you have to specify, hey, if you don't know the answer, tell me you don't know the answer, because sometimes it'll literally make up a fake statistic and you'll go try and find the source of that statistic and it straight up just won't exist. So the compliance and the hallucination thing is like the first thing at a base level, if you're using ChatGPT, that you definitely need to know. And then from there, it's more, again, it's the bottleneck. It's understanding, like, when we have conversations with businesses, any size, any department, any vertical, the better you understand what your business does or what you're trying to accomplish, what your bottleneck or your pain points are, the better it is to apply the right AI solution. So I wouldn't try and use AI for anything until you understand at a very granular level what it is you're even trying to do or trying to fix. And because if we get on a conversation with someone and they're like, yeah, I need to bring in my ops person or my marketing person, we're going to have to wait for that meeting before we can even make any recommendations. Whereas if someone gets on and they're like, I'm the bottleneck of communication, everything the whole Rolodex of the business starts and ends with me, and that's our biggest pain point, then we know that we need to figure out how to automate communication across your company from your inboxes, whether it be text or whether it be email.
Got you. So the buzzword right now you mentioned is you said AI agents, AI automation. So it seems to me like you are taking different departments, connecting them seamlessly together. So that's the difference between a whole operational system versus, okay, I'm creating this AI agent or this AI solution for one specific thing, because that'll open up, I'm sure, probably more problems. So we talked a little bit offline about AI operating systems versus agents. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two? All right, quick break in the episode. If you are enjoying this podcast and you've always wondered how you can implement AI into your business, I would start by filling out our free AI audit report. Go down in the description, click the link, and it'll give you a free roadmap on how AI can best be implemented into your business today. And if you're someone that wants to dive a little bit deeper, Jonathan and myself will be hosting a free AI workshop going over the current strategies we're using both in his business and in mine. So I can't wait to see you on the other side. Now back to the episode.
Yeah. So there's kind of like what we think is like automations, right? And automations is linear. So an automation, you know, I'll give you an example. One, I have Fireflies, which is my AI note-taking app. It sits on all my meetings. Unless someone doesn't want it there, that's fine. We'll take it out. So it sits on all my meetings. Then it goes through an automation I've set up where it extracts the transcript of the meeting. It uses context to figure out, was this an ops meeting or was this a sales meeting? And then it filters it out. So like it routes it one of two ways. So if it's an ops meeting, it goes this way. If it's a sales meeting, it goes this way. Then it uses, you know, additional context. So like another like AI assistant to understand, you know, who was that person? What company are they with? And then it'll check my CRM because it's connected to my CRM. It'll check my CRM to see if that contact is already in there. And if not, it'll add them. And if they are already in there, it'll take my transcript with my notes. So it takes my transcript, crumbles it up into and outputs like beautiful sales notes in the exact format that I like my sales notes, right? So it's not just a big transcript. It's an output of like my sales notes. And then it'll automatically update my CRM notes with that. So if you and I were having a meeting, the meeting would end, the transcript would go to that assistant, the assistant would turn it into sales notes. It would have another assistant like view my pipe drive, my CRM, I use pipe drive. It would view my CRM, see if you're already in there. If you're not in there, it'll create you. If you are in there, then it'll just automatically upload those notes into the CRM. And so like, that's just one example of an automation. An agent or like I guess it's really an assistant has kind of an interface to it. So we have this tool called Looped that we use, which we made for this law firm. So for the law firm, we use a bunch of different automations and then it ends with an interface. So for example, their problem, and so here's kind of like a problem set, right? They identified a clear problem, so it made it easy to diagnose a proper AI solution. So the first one was automation, which is like, you know, a single linear path. The next one is assistant, which is an interface or a face on top of multiple automations. So for this law firm, they are a mid-sized law firm who doesn't have the, you know, resources to compete against like Morgan & Morgan, who I'm sure you've seen all over the highway and all over TV. So if they don't have the money to compete, then how do we use AI to help them increase their SEO or increase organic traffic? And so we built this complete content. And then also, here's the other problem. Their mid-market can't compete with Morgan & Morgan. They also don't have social media people in-house. And they've tried to do social media stuff in the past, but it's not something they want to spend time on. So those are the two problem sets. So once we understand those are your problems, okay, so we built this automation, this assistant called Looped, where it first goes and it scours the internet for local SEO content that other, you know, personal injury law firms are putting out. Then it takes that content and rewrites it in kind of their own tone. So now you're seeing what works and you're rewriting it for yourself. And then it's taking it and atomizing that content into, you know, social media content and curating it for the different platforms. So they're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So it creates images, captions, and video without anyone at the law firm having to do anything. And then the only time someone at the law firm comes in is at the end. We made this mobile app, which we like to liken to the Tinder of content approval, where this AI system creates all the content, sends it to this app, and then they could just swipe through the content. And if they approve it, it automatically posts to that platform. And if they reject it, they can send a reason why, and it'll inform the AI assistant, and it won't make content like that again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's an AI assistant. Then you have what you were talking about, agentic operating systems. And this is where you have different AI agents. So an AI agent is more like a neural network that can use tools, and it gets smarter and has memory, right? That AI assistant, it's a interface where he can approve or deny content that's connected to automations, right? There's no memory there. With an agentic operating system, it has memory. So the more you use it, the smarter it gets. You can also connect it to different tools. And so instead of it saying, hey, do from X to Z or A to Z, instead of telling it to do that, you say, hey, here's your role. Here's what you do. Here's the tools you're connected to. Use your logic to accomplish these things. So you're creating effectively a virtual, employee. And so these agentic operating systems can scrape the internet for content. They could send daily reminders about things. They can think about things. They could do anything that you would have a position to do, and you have to train it to think how you want it to think. But other than that, you let it go. So instead of saying, hey, I want you to, every time I finish a meeting, I want you to take the transcript, put it into sales notes, and put it in the CRM. You say, hey, I want you to scrape the internet for leads, or I want you to build like a lead generation pipeline. Help me build it, and close those sales calls. And it can get real crazy to where it's going to go search those contacts. It's going to enrich those contacts. It's going to put them into the CRM. It might even call them. It might even email them. And it just does that repetitively. And the more it does that, the smarter it gets. With the right training. And so building these agentic operating systems is doing that, to your point, across different departments of your company. So think about it like in the last, I'll kind of lay in the plane here. The imagery of it is like, think of like a workforce like hierarchy of like, that with agents. You can have mid-level manager agents. You can have agents that perform specific tasks. And the confluence of all those agents together with like a command center dashboard is an agentic operating system that as we call it.
Man, that's some deep level stuff right there.
I'm trying to think of how I could distill that down.
So I think what's happening is you're taking your sales department, you're taking the operations department, the marketing, HR.
Yeah.
You're taking all these different departments and putting this AI agent in there and saying, okay, I'm going to prompt you to scour the internet and learn as much as you can, right? And as you're learning things from the internet, take that back into my business and give me a result. And that result can be anything based on that department. It can be, hey, I want to get more leads.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to create content based on people who are already making good content. Hey, I want to make sure I'm staying compliant. Look at all the different articles on compliance. Take that, implement it into my business, into this fluid motion where essentially you're starting to replace people and you can become a one-man show if you really wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they say that you're going to see your first, one-person billion-dollar company in the next couple of years. But, some people don't want to replace their team. Like they like the human element, and that's fine. Then what we're really talking about is, 10Xing everyone on your team. Let's make everyone cracked at what they do. And that's also, it doesn't have to be a replacement. It's like, the way I like to think about it is, but you're and how you described it is absolutely right. But if you don't use either automations, AI assistants, or complete agentic operating systems, either to do things with a lesser payroll or to 10X your team, then your competition over the next few years is going to do this and they'll get rid of your payroll for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's you don't have to, like, some people have a moral implication with using AI instead of a human. Fine. Let's figure out how the human uses AI so that when your competition uses AI, they don't get rid of the human for you.
So I have an interesting statistic right here.
Yeah.
So your company right now, Shoefly AI, has helped companies achieve 730% ROI in 4 months.
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's a scratch on the surface. I mean, I was on a call with someone the other day who helped someone do 20,000%. I mean, and it's the KPIs, right? So it was actually the law firm that we work with, through this content engine, we saved them 20 hours a week on content. Because I actually ran marketing for them 4 years before I started doing AI for them. And I know how long it takes to make that content. So we saved them 20 hours per week on making the content. We increased their website traffic by 883%. And we converted, clients for them to get that 730% ROI in less than 4 months. And that's just the start of the statistics. We worked with one of the largest school districts in the nation as well. And we used it was cool. We did it during last Christmas, and it was something called callswithsantaclaus.com. And we used voice AI for kids to be able to call Santa and have a 3-minute call with Santa in real time. So the kid would call Santa, and it'd be like a FaceTime audio call. And they'd call Santa and he'd be like, "Hey, my name's Cletis. Oh, hey, Cletis. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. What do you want? Have you been a good boy? Yeah, I want a bike. Oh, do you want a tricycle or a Harley Davidson?" Like, it is responding to you in real time, tailoring the conversation to what you're saying. So we ended up doing that campaign with this school district, and it was their most engaged email campaign through the school district's foundation of all time. And so that was the opportunity there, was how do we use this cool cutting edge technology to do a cool marketing campaign and bring in some kind of last minute dollars, for the holiday season for the students in our district. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the ROI, again, it comes back to the staple of the conversation, that 730% ROI, that most engaged with campaign and foundation history. You can't do that effectively unless you know what the opportunity or the problem set is.
Right.
So it comes back again, like, what do you want to accomplish as a business?
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine if you are saving someone several hours in the week, and increasing their revenue and just absolutely skyrocketing these businesses, how do you price these projects out when people hardly even understand what AI is? And, what does that process look like from, talking to a client to having them understand the value at what this can create and then pricing that project effectively?
Yeah. So it's two questions, right? How do you get them to understand the value, and then how do you price that value? They understand the value almost immediately. Again, and I keep saying it because it's so important. They can understand the value quicker if they have a good understanding of what their business does and what the problems are, right? If you, and one thing I've gotten good at is like on the cup, or off rip, just kind of, on the call being like, here's the art of the possible, right? Walk me through your process A to Z. And I might interject some tidbits of what's possible with AI. Don't get overwhelmed by it. I'm just injecting these ideas into the conversation. And sometimes we'll run off on a tangent, but then I always make it a critical mission of the call to come back to that, right? So if we're going A through Z and you say something at point D, and I'm like, we could use AI here, you get excited about it, we run down that rabbit hole, I'm real quick to be like, all right, so then what's the next step to get to point E? Like, I want to know from start to finish, what is your journey of what you do? And so that's the first thing. And then by the end of that point, like, they understand the value, right? Because if you can help extrapolate from their minds what they do, because not how often, people say like, people don't always ask you how you feel and genuinely mean it and ask questions about you. It's even less so in business. Like, how often is someone like really sitting down with you? Like, tell me what you do. Like, what is your biggest bottleneck? Walk me through how you handle recruitment, or walk me through whatever it is. And like, okay, cool. All right, then what's the next step? Then what? Oh, you've got a great grasp on what you're doing. Like, tell me what the next step is and get there. So then that's the value part, is you got to help guide people and to really understand what they do. And then you can, show the value of AI, because it's like, well, you mentioned this, this, and this, and AI could remove this, this, and this from you and streamline it for you and, help you bring in leads or help you save time. So as long as you guide them through their daily kind of to do, they see the value because AI can alleviate a lot of that. And then from a pricing standpoint, we're trying at Shootfly, we're trying to get to a point where we have the pricing kind of more streamlined. But right now it's bespoke to that need, to that value. Like, what is the value? How many hours does it take you? Hours is a great way to do it, right? How many hours does it take you to do this weekly? So for example, for like a recruitment firm, we're talking to someone at a recruitment firm, and they said that to take the notes, write them down in their CRM, and then find the template of email that they want to use and send the email. Based on the hours it takes a senior recruiter 7 business days a month to do that. So then if you figure out, well, what's the cost of that? I mean, that is a week a month. So, that's 12 weeks a year being lost to doing administrative stuff that could be automated. So whatever you're paying that person a year, you're paying them an extra 12 weeks to do administrative stuff. So and if you have 15 recruiters, that's not a nominal number, right? So you could price against that. If we're saving you that much time to do that much more over the course of a year for 15 people, and we're saving you, let's just easy math, like obviously not real, $100 a year, then we'll just charge you $30.
Right.
And you're still saving 70. Or if it's lead generation, we're going to help you make this much money, or qualify new leads. You're spending too much time dealing with leads that aren't qualified. If you use AI, you can save time because your meeting time will be spent with qualified leads that the AI qualified for you. What is that worth in terms of closing deals? And you could charge and price against that. So we haven't done a great job necessarily productizing our services yet, although I think we're getting there. But in terms of bespoke pricing, it's value-based sales, right? Like, how much time am I saving you? How much money am I making you? I want you to see a margin. I only want to eat if you eat first, but I'll charge against that. And that seems to be the most fair way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's got to be super refreshing for companies, not only to have that conversation with you, to kind of walk them through and understand the process of their business. Now you can create this AI solution that is like, okay, we can fix that. Now what's next?
That's right.
Fix that. So what's next?
Yeah.
So you're really allowing the owner of the business to think larger. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that. Like, kind of our approach is this crawl, walk, run, right? Mm-hmm. The crawl is, let's find a way for you to see ROI. There is too much AI that companies are using that are not showing ROI. So our crawl is, let's find a way that you see immediate ROI impact. Then let's scale that ROI impact to different departments of your business. Then that's the walk stage. And then the run stage is, let's innovate. Let's really make you a cutting edge tech company that's KPI driven, right? So now you have AI automations in one department that as the crawl. Then you have AI automations, maybe an agent, across different departments. Then you get to the run, and now your whole company is automated. Your whole company has agents. And that's really where I think the massive ROI returns will happen.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So we've talked a lot about teams, having different departments within organizations, right, and implementing AI on a larger scale, right? So I want to take a step back for the young, hungry entrepreneur, just like you back in 2016. I'm dropping out of college because I believe in myself and I want to start an AI business.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to that person?
So what I would say to that person is, one, stay down till you come up. It'd be like a mindset thing, or any starting of a business is not for the faint of heart, right? You're going to have massive ups and massive downs, but you gotta, Russ, he's a rapper. He said that, confidence is the ability, or passion is the ability to move through wins and losses, no matter how far down the line, with the same amount of confidence you had on day one, right? Or something like that. And I think that's really what it is you got to have the mental fortitude to weather the storm. I lived on a couch in a music studio for 3 years. I was broke almost all of my 20s, probably all of my 20s. I'm 32 now. And so I think the first thing is like the mindset thing, and like just don't do, like if you can't do it, like don't do it. Like that is it. But if for specifically for like an AI entrepreneur, this is the time. We have never seen a radical transformation in business like this. Like this is, at least the .com boom was the closest thing in my lifetime, but even still that doesn't touch this. I heard a cool quote about, the .com boom was great, but with the internet, you had like parameters of what you could do, right? Maybe you didn't know that the iPhone was going to come out and that you could make the Uber or something like that in 2000, but it has parameters. With AI, we're creating intelligence. And so they, I can't remember what it was, but they liken that more to the creation of electricity than the creation of the internet. So when I say that this is a radical transformation, like the internet replaced people. Like you don't need someone to write down and do things on paper or on an Excel sheet as much anymore. You could have like these connected computers and right. Everyone knows what the internet did. But with AI, like you're really replacing processes. And everything as we know it is about to change. That's why you see these kind of like draconian things of people being like, in the next 2 years, 50% of entry level white collar jobs are going to be gone. That's the kind of like seismic shift that we're dealing with. So I think that, the first thing is like understand a business or a sector extremely well and create either productized services. If you're a business generalist, and you know how to kind of take a consultative approach and help different companies identify their problems, and you are confident in being able to apply, solutions to those, do that. That's what I'm doing. At least that's what I'm starting with. But otherwise, if you want something that maybe you don't need as much business acumen for, or you don't have enough repetitions, find an industry, maybe a not sexy one. And I'm not the first one saying this, and really create like a productized, thing for that. Like if I'm, barbershop, then, maybe I make an automation that handles lead generation, it handles customer service, it handles voice AI booking, like we were talking about earlier, and package that up into a simple to sell product for $2,000 a month or $2,000 one-time build, $350 a month to manage, come up with some upsells against that, but just focus on one industry at a time and build that across industries. I think we're in a time now where, have you heard seen the meme where it's like Jeff Bezos and it's like, he's kind of like looking nerdy in the 90s and he's like, I sell books. And then it's like a more recent picture with his wife and it's like, I sell whatever the fuck I want. Like, and that's been like the thing is like, you got to start with the Jeff Bezos, you got to start with books before you can expand out. And to some degree that still reigns true. But in the other hand, it's like, on one hand, yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, it's like, well, for the first time ever, we have the ability to iterate through things at an unprecedented rate. Like I could productize, I could go to ChatGPT, have it run a deeper, and here's a recipe right here. I could have gone to ChatGPT or Claude or any of them, have it run a deep research on an industry, help me come up with a productized offer for that industry. Here's the personal injury content automation. Here's the barbershop, lead generation automation, right? Come up with a cool name for it. Have ChatGPT do research. So it's got that, talk back and forth with it to come up with an offer. Have it create a prompt that you could put into like Bolt or Lovable. These are vibe coding tools that give people like me who are non-technical the ability to code now. Put that prompt in there, work with it. You could have an offer, a landing page, Stripe connected to your landing page up in a matter of 3-4 hours. And so that would be the, thing is like find an industry or go to ChatGPT, do research on an industry, come up with a productized offer for that industry, spin up a landing page, get you a good guy that can run ads or do UGC content, come up with some kind of machine that you could put these offers and these landing pages through, some kind of like way to quickly find if there's a market validation for it. And then just like ads, like, you put out, 5 ads, 2 of them hit, 3 of them don't, you kill the 3 and you double down on the 2. You can now do that with products because of AI. You could spin the product up, put the marketing, messaging, landing page together, we'll start running ads against it. And if it hits, double down on it. If it doesn't, kill it. And that's something that we've never seen. That kind of opportunity has only been at the expense of large companies. Because if you think about, even with drag and drop sites, how long would it take you to build a website, to come up with the offer, to do the research on the industry? Like, it's night and day. So I think that would be like the real lick right now, is to kind of figure out, try different industries, come up with offers, build landing pages, put them through whatever kind of marketing machine you can make, and then see if it hits. And if it hits, double down. If not, kill it.
Man, just gave them the gameplay right there. So, I'm someone that is a firm believer in digital products, right? And so based on what I'm hearing, it doesn't matter if you don't have any interest in a certain topic, because now we can do research with our AI, and they can pull information based on any industry. Even if you have the slightest interest in that industry, it can pull information and you say, okay, I used to be a cut hair in college, or, hey, my uncle owns a roofing company. So I remember growing up helping him out with his roofing stuff. You can pull information from the internet, create these productized services, and then test them extremely quick.
Yeah. I think that's the high level of it. There's nuances that, we could talk about more in depth. I think we'll use this time to really kind of discuss like the what you could do, and maybe there's follow-up content or offers or something for the how. But the essence of it is exactly that. But the nuances are like, one of them would be like, get a list of 20 business owners in that industry, use AI to scrape that list for you. And then, just ask them, say, hey, no pressure. I'm building this AI product, and I'm just curious of, what your bottlenecks are, or, here's my 5-question list I put together, right? Take that, input the answers to that into your AI to create your offer. So there's like tons of nuances like that really make this, increase your margin of success. But yeah, at a high level, that's exactly right what you said.
It's really just speed. How quickly can you test something out? Get it in front of a market and see, are they actually interested in that? So you would say, gather that list, start calling these people up, see if they're interested. So what are your, thoughts on, I kind of want to touch a little bit more on those entrepreneurs who are just starting out, because that is something that we're partnering up on, is more of those lower ticket to mid ticket products, right? Because we'll touch in a little bit on, okay, you're working with a medium-sized business and you're completely creating this whole ecosystem, or this, agentic AI for this company, but the small fish in the pond who, they may not want to scale their business to some crazy amount and exit it. They just want to add an additional income for their family to take them on vacation, or maybe they want to start a business and have those aspirations of, growing it to $100,000 a month.
Absolutely.
Right? So I just want to talk about that person, right? I'm getting a little lost in, kind of what I was trying to say here, but the smaller ticket and medium ticket products, what are you doing right now to help those people get into AI?
So it's actually something new, right? Because I feel like I got imposter syndrome, and so I need the real credibility to fall back on. So I'm like, why am I telling people like I haven't made $1 billion? But then there's something special about the vulnerability and transparency of like getting game and giving game. You know what I'm saying? So like, I have enough, we had a record breaking month this month. Like every month we continue to have this compounding growth. And
do we want to get into numbers?
I'll share that this month alone was like, and it's only, what is it? June 20 something,
26th.
Yeah. So almost the end of the month, but like this was like a 50K month, a more than 50K month, like closer to 75K month. And, I don't like, it's not crazy, but it's a new company, and it shows like what can really be possible if you do things right. And we've got a lot of R&D and, kind of some of the stuff that I was just talking about that we haven't even rolled out yet. Like we kind of soft launched the company just on providing these services to mid-market. And I think we underpriced a lot too, but you got to do that at the beginning to get those case studies. And so some of these kind of lower mid-ticket, things that we're talking about is really to maybe help people get over that imposter syndrome or cut down their learning curve. I went through it. I did people's lower mid ticket, kind of stuff, different YouTubers, podcasters, anyone who was talking to me in a way that resonated about stuff I didn't know yet. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're doing 20K a month, 50K a month, 100, a million a month. If you're telling me something and it makes sense to me, I know I can make dollars off of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like, I don't want to say that it's like all altruistic of like, I want to give back. I do. But at the same time, there's, have you heard of the rule of 33? Mm-mm. So the rule of 33 is you want to have 3 types of people in your life at all times.
Yeah.
People you learn from, people you talk to, and people you teach. Mm-hmm. Because the iteration of that information gets more embedded in you. Because if you learn something and then I'm chopping it up with a peer about it, and then I'm teaching someone about it, I'm approaching that information from 3 different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So it's really getting embedded. So the selfless thing is like, I want to give back some of the game that I've learned and what I do right. And then the selfish part of it is I want to be out there creating this content because it's going to help me like learn it better and be able to speak about it better. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the trade-off of that. And that's, that would be the other thing for like an entrepreneur to hear is like that rule of 33 really does matter. Mm-hmm. Like if you're only learning things and you don't have anyone to talk to about it and you're not teaching anyone about it, you're not going to retain it. I truly believe you won't be able to retain it as if you had a third.
Yeah, that is so powerful right there because I also, went through the same thing with creating content for businesses. And I was back on TikTok back in, 2020 and grew to 100,000 plus followers so fast. And I had that imposter syndrome thinking, everybody knows how to, make this content, and I realized the more that I just shared that information with people and, got feedback, it really helped me improve my game. And a big misconception that we think is you have to be 10 steps ahead of people, right? And oftentimes you really only need to be 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Because like you said, if there's some information that they're teaching me that I haven't learned before, why not go and learn it?
Yeah, I'm doing a disservice not putting it out.
Exactly. I'm a firm believer in that. So that's really powerful. But I think we touched on mostly everything that I have down in my notes. Is there anything else that you can think of that we didn't touch on that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think, well, let me think about that for a second. I think if you really want to learn about something, like you got to put in the time, between ChatGPT, YouTube University, like the time is now. This is like we are really going through a radical transformation, and I'm looking for a community. I'll say this, that right now we're going through a radical transformation, a period of technological evolution we've never seen before. And regardless of your age or where you come from, this is the perfect time to get in. Go to YouTube University, talk to ChatGPT, whatever it is you need to do, join a community, buy people's offers, buy people's courses, whoever resonates with you, the right things for you to learn is out there. And because Twitter, the smartest people are on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you get locked in on some of these things sometimes and feel like, man, there's no way I can make money in this market. There's so many people smarter than me that move so much earlier than I do. Sure. That could be true, but that doesn't mean there's not 8 billion people in the world, 60 million small businesses in the US alone that you could talk to. And with the right kind of product and the right strategy, you could totally hit them. So I would implore anyone listening to take advantage of one of the most important times for building a business we've seen in our lifetime and probably ever will. And don't let imposter syndrome or lack of knowledge or lack of speed, stop you from trying. And I think that's, if someone walks away with that, like this is the time. That's the message.
Man, that just reminded me of, investing in yourself and building those relationships with other people who is within that 33% where you're teaching someone, you're learning, and you're doing.
That's right.
I know firsthand that, and I know you've been able to raise a ton of money for not only your companies, but for other companies where you didn't even have a product built yet. This was just an idea.
Yeah.
So one, I just want to get into the mindset of how do you build that deep relationship with someone and pitch them on this idea before it's even a thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the idea is a thing. The product isn't a thing yet sometimes. And for me, I truly believe, like I said, like I started with, someone gave me my first investment check. I gave my whole life. Like when I'm in on something, I'm dialed. I'm all the way in. And I think when you're all the way in on something, there's a different kind of energy that radiates from you, right? Like, and I like to say, like, that's why being definitive about what you want in this world is important. Like too many guys, for example, will get caught up with chicks, like, and it doesn't work out. And they're like, well, I don't know why. And it's like, because you didn't know what you wanted. Like, I like to, or like, oh, the entrepreneurship thing didn't work out. Well, because you didn't know exactly what you wanted and you didn't stay down to the craft and iterate the learning on that. And for me, it's like, if you go to Taco Bell and you pull up at the drive-thru and you're like, I want a quesarito, no, I want a taco, no, I want to, and eventually the person like is going to be like, yo, like drive off. You ain't getting anything. And that's what it is. Like you have to stay down, believe in what you're saying, and eventually it'll come about. And I think like that energy radiates off you and people can feel that, whether it comes in the form of passion or confidence. And, you got to have the right logistics, right? You got to win people over emotionally. But then when you're not with them, they're going to think, well, does this make sense? And then from there, it's like, okay, I don't know if I believe in exactly, or I don't know if I know exactly what he's doing, but I believe in him. And in like entrepreneurship, they call it betting on the jockey, not the horse, right? But fortunately now, like with the AI stuff, I'm getting the bet on both the jockey and the horse because I found the right thing and I found the right product. But, to your specific question about how can you raise money, how can you sell something before you even have a product? There's a methodology which, we can go into deeper that I've crafted over time of how to do that in a calculated approach. But then there's the mindset piece that supersedes anything. Right. And you got to have that right mindset to be able to do that and be advantageous. But, in another time, we could share the methodology for taking a slow, calculated approach for validating a product or an offer.
Man, you're clearly a seasoned vet when it comes to raising capital, technology space, this deep passion for advancement, not only in your career, but helping other businesses. Like what is that driving force that makes you wake up every day? That's like, this is what I have to do.
I want to answer this without being cliche, but like some dudes play video games. Some dudes go to the club. I like to sit on Figma. I like to sit on ChatGPT. Like I like to just do it. And I think it's, what I've kind of realized, I think that is a byproduct, not of making money, but since a little kid, I've loved puzzles. I've loved Legos. I just like to build things. And I think that's a byproduct of. Like, it's not that I'm built different. It's not that I'm smarter. It's just that I like to solve the biggest puzzles I can. So when I solve, puzzle 1, I'm off to puzzle 2, and then to puzzle 3, and then to puzzle 4. Hopefully the puzzles get more challenging and more stakes are on the line each time. And that's just what I like to do. And if I'm not doing that, that's when some people are like, and this is, I used to, shit on the 9 to 5 thing, but I get it. Like, and it is not a bad thing. Like, I may have less gray hair if I went that route, like there's no hate towards it, but for me to even think of a life where I get off at 5 p.m. and I don't work again until 9 a.m. and then I don't work on the weekends gives like, I can't sit around for too long idle, and like, I'll get anxiety. So like, working is like, and it's not even working, like solving these puzzles is the driver that literally makes this my life and not a job.
Do you think that mindset of being an entrepreneur, because you talked about when you were a kid, you like to solve puzzles and keep on going. Do you think that is something that people are born with, or they can learn it? Because some people, like you said, they just grow up. They had influence around them. They were always excited about, building things. But some people just like, I am tired of, working that 9 to 5 job, or hey, I want to expand my family and move to a different state, or my mother-in-law got sick, so she now needs to move in with us, and I need a way to break out of what I'm currently doing and transition into something that is bigger and better. Do you think that is something that people can learn, or they're just born with?
No, I think it can. I think it can be compounded on and learned, but I don't think you have to be born with it. I think it can happen. Sure, it could happen when you're born. It could happen after a good meditation. It could happen when you walk out of church. It could happen at any reality shifting moment. Like you said, like your mom just moved in with you now, or your sick grandma moved in with you. Now your back's up against the wall. It could happen after you eat mushrooms. Like there are 1,000 different ways that a reality shifting moment, it could happen when you get sick and you're in the hospital for 27 days. Even though I like to solve puzzles as a kid, there was no path for entrepreneurship for me before I got sick. So I think there's this reality shifting moment that gives you that initial motivation, but you have to compound that with consistent action. If you don't compound that with consistent action, even when you're not feeling motivated, it doesn't matter. So I think it's a mixture of, you have to have it in you, whether you were born with it or whether some life circumstance gave it to you. But then when you're not feeling it, that's when the learning part comes in. You have to learn how to stay down and stay disciplined. Like, it's not always on, everywhere, like all the time. It's not like, but is your overarching North Star, can that pull you through that? Can you stay disciplined when you lose the motivation? So that I think that's the answer to it, is you don't have to be born with it. And if at any point you catch it, it is your job and your job only to hold on to it.
Man, that's great. So for the people watching, Jonathan, where can they find you? Drop your social medias, your website, any information you want to give them to where they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Jonathan Hessing, just compound word of my first name, last name. Shoefly AI is the company. We're about to start dropping content. We've been building in stealth for the last 5 months, 6 months, and did a lot of market research before that. So Shoefly AI, all platforms, and I think we're going to be doing some stuff together too. So, I don't know what the best CTA is here, so maybe you can.
No, you don't have to have a CTA. We'll just drop all of the information for Jonathan down in the notes. And if y'all want to connect, make sure you click that link, give him a follow, and stay tuned for more content like this. Thanks for joining us on the episode, Jonathan.
Appreciate it, man.